Okay, good day. I'm Art Esparza, and I am the host of MONTE Tonight and in charge of the MONTE TV Channel 3 studio. And we're very fortunate today to have the Right Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, Bart Patel. How you doing, Bart?
Hey Art, how you doing?
Good, good. Now, I know you have a really...
And by the way, thank you for inviting me to your show and trying to get the word out of what we're going to talk about today. Really appreciate that.
See, he's the perfect guest, folks. And this is what we love him as Mayor Pro Tem around here. What's the exciting project? I know we touched on it before, but give us a little lead in. What's coming up?
Well, as you know, on the council, everybody sort of does something, start committees, and sort of what they're really passionate about, and try to help make changes and improve, quality of life for the residents and the community. That's the bottom line. And what we did a year and a half ago is myself and my colleague, Norma Macias, Councilwoman Macias, we started a thing called the Business Advisory Council. And basically what the whole organization is about, or the committee about, is to help our existing businesses stay in business, help them expand if they so choose to, and attract new businesses, whereby creating, a solid, stable economic base where we provide jobs, provides our tax base in our town, and then the net benefit is to quality of life, improve the quality of life for our residents and community at large.
Well, I know that as of late, we've had a lot of groundbreakings, which is, like the city is expanding by leaps and bounds now. So is this going to be sort of encouraging more investment as far as building, different kind of infrastructure, housing, and the like?
Well, the idea of the Business Advisory Council, which comprises, of myself, Councilwoman Macias, and a couple of the people from city staff, and then other business owners from town. And what we're trying to do is try to be the true partner, your partner in business. And what we started to do is start looking at different various aspects of city operations. Everybody talks about, well, we're all business friendly, but how do you define that? What does that really mean? If someone says you're business friendly, but word on the street is that we're really not, well, why aren't we more business friendly? Or what can we do to accommodate the process? So, for example, last year we embarked on 3 areas to look at how the city can become more business friendly. That's the planning process, which is very important because all businesses that want to do any kind of development in the city or any kind of expansion, they have to go through the planning process and deal with our planning department, our building department, our planning commission, if the project needs verification of that process, and if it's a very big project, the city council. And also code enforcement. Code enforcement is, no one is ever happy to see a code enforcement officer giving anyone a ticket.
Right.
In terms of that. I mean, it's a very, very tough job, but historically in our city, code enforcement is just one of those. You can't satisfy, they say if you go to please everyone in life, you end up pleasing no one. But code enforcement is a very tricky department because they're out there giving citations, and it's a very unpopular job. But how we do that, how do we create a system, how do we make it fair and balanced and be responsive and keep the quality of life for our residents and maintain their property values or keep our streets clean. That's what code enforcement is in charge of. And so we took a look at code enforcement, and the third area that we created a subcommittee for was community development as well. How the city can better expose more programs out there for especially for small businesses and mom and pop businesses that really sometimes they don't have the resources, or maybe they don't have the staffing to get out and attend a lot of meetings. So one aspect of that is how can we go to them rather than the small businesses coming to us, and taking a very proactive approach. And I'm happy to say that we did an official presentation at last night's council meeting, March 17th, 2015. Ken Rausch, the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, made the presentation last night, and a format of, look, these are the issues we've identified, these are the findings, and these are our recommendations. And that's all they were, recommendations for the city council and for the staff to look at and implement. And the great thing is, Art, it didn't cost the taxpayers one dime, because all these people that worked on these subcommittee reports did it through their own they basically volunteered
Right.
to input their time and energy and effort into that.
In fact, you bring me to what was going to be my next question, but I think you sort of incorporated it. How does it reconcile what you're doing here with the BAC with the chamber itself proper? Because I know people traditionally consider the chamber being the go-to people for business, and you seem to be morphing it into with what the city's trying to accomplish. Is that working out really well? Doing it that way?
Well, I think one of the positive things about the Business Advisory Council is you have two people from the council.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the direct ear of your elected officials,
Right.
number one. Number two, we don't have, it's just not a membership-based kind of a process, where the chamber is a membership-based process, and you could be a member for 5 years, and then you can drop out and not be a member.
Right.
And therefore, you don't get all the benefits and maybe other types of recognition that how they have it systematically done. What we're trying to look at is, it's a 360 view of we're looking at all the businesses, whether they're are big businesses like Longo Toyota, or the small little business that's been running that hardware store for 25 years. So one of the predications is that you don't have to be a member to be recognized by the BAC. And sometimes when you have development projects that come into the city, they're not really part of the Chamber of Commerce, because if you're a developer, or you're going to develop houses or a mixed retail project or a commercial building project, they're going to come in and they're going to go through the process, and they want to develop their project. And after they're done, they're basically out.
They move on.
They move on to other projects or concurrently. I think a lot of them, I mean, without doing a formal survey, a lot of them are not part of the Chamber of Commerce because they're just here to develop their project, and then they move on.
Right. And I know you're a very successful businessman in your own right, so I think that really helps in the situation that you're familiar with what, where the rubber hits the road, how to get this in motion, and like you said, streamline it for other business people like yourself to come on in and be able to get their needs met.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when we did come on, when we opened up our business in 1997, we were a Chamber of Commerce member for a couple of years, but then 2001 hit, with 9/11, and the business changed drastically. We're in the lodging, hospitality business, and we took a big hit. And you're trying to cut costs and expenses where you can, and that's where a lot of businesses they say, do I have to become do I need this membership right now? I'm struggling myself.
Mm-hmm. So
a lot of times, and maybe unfortunately, whether they're corporations or big businesses or small businesses, one of the first things you really look at when your budget gets really tight is your marketing budget. And experts have said, try to maintain your marketing, your advertising budget, because that's going to help bring in revenue. But unfortunately, it's sort of like the go-to, let's reduce this marketing or advertising budget, and then we'll keep moving on in other areas to keep our business afloat. So, I mean, myself, I've been on and off chamber member for years.
Right.
It's sort of depending on the business, and I would venture to say that's a lot of small businesses out there. They've been here for many years, and just because they're not a member of a certain organization, that doesn't mean they don't add any value to our economic base.
Right. Well, it's cost effective as far as the bottom line for a lot of the small, like you said, mom and pop up businesses. And I imagine the post real estate bubble burst really had an effect on the situation as well, the climate and the atmosphere in the business community. So, and since you work in lodging, I'm sure you felt a real direct effect of that.
We got it right in the gut, and the thing about and being in business, it's a moving target all the time, and you have to keep adjusting and changing. And the organizations and businesses that are good at doing that, you can see that not only do they make it out of these recessions and stuff, but they actually evolve and come out a much better organization if they can make it through the process. And unfortunately, I saw a lot of businesses fail through the Great Recession. Either because they were overly leveraged or they didn't have the right systems in place to keep them going. And then and sometimes they're just, bottom line, there's just not enough business, and a lot of them had to close down, or they lost their businesses, in the process. And the economists say that the Great Recession, really started, they pinpointed to October of 2008.
Right.
But, in my business, we actually saw the slowdown in late 2007. We already saw the trend already transpiring. But officially, the Great Recession started October 2008 when you talk to all the great key economists, in the U.S.
The people, yeah. And I could see that, yeah, you'd come out with a thicker skin if you do weather the storm, you know, as far as the business is concerned. Now, I understand you have, I think it's a luncheon coming up for the advisory council?
Yes, so this is going to be our second annual Business Advisory Council luncheon, March 26th at the Aquatic Center. And what we're going to be doing is, we had one, it was a great kickoff. We had one last year at City Hall. This time we're inviting businesses, big, medium, and small businesses. And one of the key things that we're going to be doing is a report back on all the subcommittee reports on planning, code enforcement, and community development. And we're adding a twist this time. We're actually going to be recognizing businesses for different categories that we created. Myself, Councilwoman Macias, and Sheila Crippen, who's our council liaison. And we're hoping to refine that process, but due to the limited time, and so we are recognizing businesses, for example, like a partner, a key partner with the city. Traditionally, let's say, Longo Toyota has always been a very key partner in contributing to community events, or a visionary award, like Ignacio's Restaurant. They really took a big risk in 2012 when they opened up their business at Valley Mall. And it was a great struggle for him, and it continues to be a challenge, but it looks like he's going to help start a trend, let's say, for that area. So we identified like 3 or 4 of these kind of awards, and then we have 2 to 3 businesses for each that are going to be awarded, for their great work in town.
Okay, so when the luncheon, any business can attend? Can they come on in, or do they have to?
Unfortunately, because it's limited space over there, it's invitation only.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, that makes sense, and I know the Aquatic Center is right there off of Tyler.
And the good news is no cost to the taxpayer again. What we were able to do with our team is we were able to raise some sponsorship money for the luncheon. So it was budgeted for the food costs and all the award costs and everything else. So I'm very happy to say no direct cost for the taxpayer on this.
Okay, well, nobody's taxes were injured in the process of the show. We have that.
There is no 911 required on this one. No calls to be made.
Well, I know you're a great team yourself, and Councilwoman Macias, because she did head up and ramrodded that ACE project, which we were very blessed to participate.
You're talking about the Baldwin Park, the Baldwin Avenue underpass, yes.
Yeah. Alameda Corridor East.
Yes. Can I tell you something about the ACE organization? They're one of the most unique public-private kind of nonprofit organizations, and that they're sort of like they're a quasi-government agency. Because all their funding is through, government funds, whether it's federal dollars, state dollars, county dollars. If you look at their track project, and what they do is railroads, a grade separation. So if you have a railroad track, they build a bridge so the trains can go traverse through the top, and cars can flow at the bottom. And they've done, I think, over 20 projects over the last, 15 or 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
And every single project has been under budget and on-time delivery. And that's a phenomenal record for even a private industry or any private company to toot their horn on.
Well, they definitely did a great service for the community. Like you said, once again, quality of life, because now it's relieving some of the stress, the traffic, people have been able to travel under, and it's gonna go part and parcel with all the development that's happening here in El Monte, beautiful El Monte, the wonderful place to live, work, and play. So, as we call it on my show, we call it the Bel Air of San Gabriel Valley. So, we like that. Well, I want to thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Patel. I really appreciate you coming on the show and telling us about it and give us an update. And of course, we'll be videotaping it so we can share it with the community how your luncheon turns out. And I want to thank you once again.
Well, Art, thank you so much. And when you have excellent businesses in town, they provide the greater quality of life, not just for our residents, but even for the daytime and the daytime commuter population, the people that work in our town as well. So, it's a win-win situation, and if we take care of that end, we will see great results yielded for many, many years to come.
Well, that's definitely something to look forward to. Thank you once again, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Art. You too.
Arturo Esparza on My Tonight on My TV Channel 3. We'll be back at you in just a few minutes.